Alright, so today's video is going to be just a little bit different. Today, we don't have any clips, we don't have any audio, but I am going to be talking about something that I think is extremely important. I'm going to be talking about my Republican governor, Glenn Youngkin. A lot of you have probably heard that name before. I've covered him many times on the channel, and he's also made national headlines for multiple different, very terrible things. So just to preface this before we go over this New York Times article, that's what we're mainly going to be looking at today, a New York Times article. I found a local article from NBC station 29 where they briefly go over what's going on here. The Virginia NAACP's president is filing a lawsuit against Governor Glenn Youngkin's administration. The NAACP says this is in response to Governor Youngkin's decision about voting right restoration for convicted felons. Governor Youngkin has chose to do away with that policy and enact a new policy that's both arbitrary and is an at-will determination on his behalf based on factors that he has not made public, whether to restore an individual's rights. Ryan Snow with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under the Law said, Snow says Virginia is one of the very few states with felon voting restrictions, and that is true. Apparently, and I was not aware of this before now, and that's my fault, Virginia, Kentucky, and Iowa are those three states. So we fucking suck here in Virginia, totally. But the biggest thing about it is, and we're about to go over this article here in a second, but I want to preface this whole video by saying two things. Number one, in the United States of America, in a country where we like to, at least, before some very recent events, and, some other small-scale stuff, like with Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, free and fair elections. In the United States of America, we say you have the, what is it? Say it with me. Right to vote. That's what they say, right? Right? The right to vote. We like to pride ourselves on free and fair elections where the citizens get to elect their public officials, right? So it doesn't fucking matter if you're a felon, you still have the right to vote. It doesn't matter if you're convicted of a crime. You serve your time, just like this man we're about to go over, George Hawkins, served 13 years in prison. He served 13 years in prison, and he asked Governor Youngkin 2 separate fucking times, hey, can I have my right to vote back? And he said no both times. Didn't give him a reason, he just said no. Let's get more into it. A legal fight over whether governors can deny thousands the vote. 3 states let governors use their discretion to deny voting rights to former prisoners. Lawsuits, and 2 of them say that violates the First Amendment. And George Hawkins, a resident of the state of Virginia, is the center of this story. This is George Hawkins right here. You can see him in this picture. After George Hawkins completed a 13-year term, 13 fucking years, that's a long time, guys. That's a very long time, in a Virginia prison for attempted murder. I'm saying that because, the prison system in this country is so goddamn terrible. It is literally one of the worst in the entire world. He asked the state last spring to restore his right to vote. So far, the administration of Governor Glenn Youngkin, who has unfettered discretion over such requests, has twice turned him down with almost no explanation. Governor Youngkin's authority is enshrined in Virginia's state constitution, but now a lawsuit filed by Fair Election Center, a Washington, D.C.-based voting rights organization, argues that the federal constitution limits that power. The suit in federal district court in Richmond claims that the First Amendment bars Governor Youngkin, a Republican, from arbitrarily silencing Mr. Hawkins' voice in political affairs. Instead, it calls for Virginia to set rules governing decisions on restoring voting rights. Otherwise, the lawsuit says governors could say their rulings on voting rights were impartial while secretly basing their decisions on information or informed speculation on the applicant's political affiliations or views. And again, I need to make this point here, okay? Taking my glasses off. I need to make this point here, okay? Number one, this is so backwards. If we're going to talk about, if we're going to say that we're a country that has free and fair elections, but we're going to limit certain people's right to vote based on totally criteria that is just does not matter at all, you're pretty much saying, well, they might vote for a Democrat, so we'll make sure that they don't get to vote. Do you know how fucking, number one, how evil that is? But number two, how fucking stupid that is as any politician to limit anyone's power to vote in America, okay? I don't know about Mr. Hawkins. I don't know anything about him. Based on the only thing I know about Mr. Hawkins is what is contained within this New York Times article. I want to get that straight. I don't know if this guy, if he would vote for someone like Youngkin, a Republican. Luckily, in Virginia, governors cannot serve consecutive terms. I really, really like that. But I don't know if he would vote Republican. I don't know if he's a Democrat. I don't know if he'd vote independent. I have no idea about Mr. Hawkins and his political affiliations. And I'm not going to assume. But I don't understand how limiting someone's vote, this could be a potential fucking vote for you. This could be a potential vote for your fucking party, and you want to deny them the right to vote? This could potentially go in your favor by giving them the right to vote. They could vote Republican. They might vote Republican. You don't know. That's, if I was looking at it from Glenn Youngkin's point of view, which is really hard to do, I would sit there and be like, why would you not? Why are you going to limit anybody's right to vote? They're U.S. citizens, okay? They serve their time, and then they get out, and you want to disenfranchise them. Why? It doesn't make it fundamentally and logically, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. Last week, U.S. District Judge John A. Gibney, allowed the case to proceed, putting off a decision on whether state rules on granting clemency are subject to judicial review until after hearings early next year. The stakes are potentially large in the Virginia suit and a similar one in Kentucky. A third state, Iowa, that's the third state, vests power over voting in the governor, but is not being sued because an executive order restores the right to former prisoners who have completed their sentences. More than 66,000 Virginians on probation or parole remain disenfranchised as of 2022, according to the Sentencing Project, a criminal justice advocacy group. This is just fucking disgusting. I'm sick and tired of all of the, well, we're the freest, we're the greatest. We're not. Why are we limiting these people's right to vote? Because they got convicted of felonies? So they don't have the right to vote? And I mean, this would be a case-by-case basis. The only time, and I mean the only fucking time, I would say, well, maybe you lost that right to vote, is if you have been convicted of election fucking fraud. And I mean doing what Donald Trump and his cronies tried to do. I guarantee you, I could be wrong, but I guarantee you these 66,000 Virginians probably did not commit voter fraud. That's the only time. And again, case by case. I don't think it, whatever. I think people can be reformed. That's 100% something I believe as a progressive. This is just so backwards to me. It's so fucking disgusting. In Kentucky, Governor Andy Bashar, I don't care if I pronounce that name wrong, a Democrat, signed an order in 2019 that has automatically restored the franchise to more than 190,000 people, but the lawsuit there challenges the governor's decision to exclude from automatic restoration more than 55,000 former prisoners who committed high-level felonies like murder or were convicted outside state courts. In court arguments, the state said this summer that the only standard for restoring voting rights to those not covered under automatic restoration is whether the governor judges the applicant worthy. In nearly 4 years, Governor Bashar has personally restored rights to 60 people only. But when a criterion like worthy can encompass people's skin color, political views, or even their difference to authority, both suits argue it cannot justify a government decision to limit a citizen's political rights. Again, what do we say here in America? What do we say, guys? The right to vote. Thank you for saying it with me. I appreciate that. The right to vote. It's not a privilege. It's a right. You live in this country, and you are a citizen, and I think that, I think there could be a case, and I do honestly believe this, I think there could be a case for certain undocumented immigrants, people that are attempting to become citizens. I think that they should have a path to vote as well, because they do pay taxes. I know a lot of people will probably disagree with me on that, but that's the facts. That's true. It's the right. You have that. It's a fundamental right as a human being. You get to vote, okay? That's how it works. Most states either automatically restore the voting rights of former prisoners or have written guidelines on the matter. Virginia is the only state that still places all voting rights in the governor's hands, the result of Mr. Youngkin's decision to abandon the automatic restoration policy of his Democratic predecessor, Ralph Northam. Government attempts to silence citizens because of their opinions or behavior, commonly called viewpoint discrimination, have long been seen by courts as particularly offensive First Amendment breaches, and the Supreme Court has frequently ruled that government officials cannot arbitrarily deny First Amendment rights. But whether those legal principles apply to a governor's decision on the right to vote remains a dispute. In the Kentucky suit, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals already has ruled that they do not. That power, the court said this summer, applies to licensing decisions like granting parade permits, not to a governor's pardon powers. The election center plans to appeal the decision to the Supreme Court. Lawyers for Governor Youngkin made the same argument in the Virginia lawsuit. State rules for granting clemency are rarely, if ever, appropriate subjects for judicial review, they wrote in a September filing. I mean, they're telling these people they can't vote, and they're essentially telling them, they're not giving them a reason why, but I mean, I can think of a couple reasons why. Governor Youngkin is choosing not to give these people their right to vote when they absolutely deserve it. A spokeswoman for Governor Youngkin, Macaulay Porter, said in an email that the governor, quote-unquote, firmly believes in the importance of second chances. That's a fucking load. She said voting rights decisions take into consideration the unique elements of each situation, practicing grace for those who need it and ensuring public safety. Again, unless you committed voter fraud. Mr. Hawkins was in prison for 13 years, attempted murder. He served his sentence. He served his 13 fucking years. He is out. He is out now. He should have that right to vote. You say, oh, well, unique elements of each situation. Then why are there so many people just left in the dust? Why are there all these people that are still disenfranchised? Unique elements, my ass. This is just a lie. This is just something they made up to, kind of take the heat off of them, because there are a lot of outlets covering this. One scholar in First Amendment law, Kevin F. O'Neill at Cleveland State University College of Law, said, courts may not agree that First Amendment protections that apply to issues they commonly see, like the granting of parade permits, also cover far less common cases, like a governor's refusal to restore voting rights. At the least, he said, a plaintiff would need to show that some denials of voting rights are rooted in arbitrary factors like race or politics, not just that they could be. Ordinarily, he said, you can't win a constitutional case based on hypotheticals. Mr. Hawkins, the one-time Virginia convict, went to prison at 17, after being singled out by police officers for a shooting incident in a crowd that left him and two others wounded. He has never cast a ballot. I fought my case from start to finish, he said. From the day I was convicted until the day I came home this year, being denied the vote, he said, is like saying my sentence ain't enough. Damn. That makes me really fucking sad. Like, actually. He added, I don't know what makes me ineligible. I don't know when I could be eligible. I'm kind of free, like a second-class citizen. I don't want to be a non-voter for the rest of my life. And this goes into a larger conversation that I think is important here, and I'm not going to focus on it too long. But convicts in this country, if you get convicted of a felony and you get out, I mean, it is hard for you to live a life, a normal human life. It is. And it shouldn't be that way. 13 years. He served his sentence. He got out. And now they're telling him he can't vote. How fucked up is that? How fucked up is that? It's very fucked up. I do think that there is absolutely always a larger conversation to be had around all of these topics that I talk about. And I think that, the prison system in this country is that larger topic at play here, at least in many aspects of the story. That being said, I'm going to leave it there. That's going to be it for the video. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Guys, please, please, please let me know what you thought down below in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know what you thought of my crazy ass looking hair. And I will see you guys in the next one.